Hello, is the captioner there?
Yes, sir, I'm here.
Okay, good. And Mr. Padilla is here. Hmm. Ooh. Oh, I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Who's here?
Mr.
Anyone else?
Lopez, the captions are not enabled at all.
Oh, okay. So we got to go do that.
Yes, please.
Where are you? You're there. And I'll assign to closed caption, right?
Yes, please.
Is that good?
Let's see.
And then
Let me.
there's this, our interpreters here too.
Hello.
Hi.
Let me
Oh, we
share.
are a little more coordinated today. Okay, the captions are coming through. Is there anything you need on my end?
No, sir, that's it. I'm fine. I don't know about the interpreters.
Are you good?
I'm good.
Okay, good. All right. So I was going to look at my video, see what I can do as far as settings. Um, there we go. All right. My cat's asleep.
So are mine and dogs.
Yeah, I can't. I have one dog, and well, it was my dad's dog, and I gave it to my sister. And so she's a trucker, so she takes the dog with her, and it's good company for her. But dogs, they require a lot of work. I mean, they can't use a litter box, so you got to take them outside.
Yeah, they do. They
In the
do.
winter, that's not fun. At 4 o'clock in the morning, that's not fun. Uh-oh, she woke up. Uh-oh, she's gonna come.
You have more than one, don't you?
Oh, yeah, I have two. This fat one and a real old skinny one. Yeah. Okay, who's else is here? Needs to come in. Nobody. Let's see. Participants four.
We should have one more sign language interpreter, but I don't see the person yet.
T Padilla.
Is that who that is?
I don't know. I think that's one of ours.
Okay.
But that could be.
Okay.
I could be. Oh, here I'm gonna admit an ASL interpreter, Danielle. I
That's
like
it.
her name.
That's it.
What's this try multi-speaker stuff? Time to engage in more engagement in me. I'm not gonna try something new right now. Hi. I don't know if she does only
Hi,
sign or does
yes, this is an interpreter. Karen and I will be teaming throughout the meeting today. So Karen will start with 15 minutes and then we'll switch off every 15 minutes. Thank you.
sounds great. Welcome to the meeting, and I appreciate your service.
Of course. Karen, I can take first too if I just I jumped in there, but I'm happy to
Oh.
take first if that makes it easier too.
Have you done this one at this particular meeting
I have
before?
No, I have
I
not.
haven't either. Haven't
Okay.
either. So either one, it doesn't matter.
So I have that prep material pulled up, and I can feed you in the chat.
Nah,
If-
I get too distracted. I can't do it that way.
I hear
I
you.
should be okay. I looked over it too, and you know, the last names may get me, but the first names I've got those for sure. So
And we have the captioner.
okay,
So
Good
will
point.
do. All right,
Thank
so
you.
camera off, and then when we switch, just turn your camera on, then we'll know when to switch. Is that how you do it?
That's it. Thank you.
All
Yep.
right, sounds like a plan. I'm gonna turn my volume off.
oh, you were on my sweatpants. What are you doing?
Daniel, until we get started, I'm gonna go ahead and just turn my camera off, but as soon as y'all start, I'll turn it back on.
I'm not worried.
Okay, all right.
And I'll let this person in. How are you? Okay. We got 4 minutes. And we start. Who is this? Okay, now it's yours to take.
Okay, I call this meeting to order at 3:03 p.m. May we have roll call, please?
Jurgish,
Here.
Eli Frescas,
He's excused. He had a meeting and maybe in or may not be.
okay, he said he might come in.
Yeah.
Kendra Garcia, yeah, I
Present.
see her. Okay, Aura, hello. I have to learn this.
Hello, I'm here.
Okay, Angelique,
I'm present.
excellent. Pam is not here, right?
She's excused.
Okay, and then Gina Maria
Here. Thank
and
you.
Elsa Maria. I'm Elsa.
Miriam,
Miriam, sorry.
I have not heard from Miriam. If someone could please text her, that would be great.
Okay. There we go. And of course, Christopher is not here.
Excused, yeah. Thank you. So next we have approval of the agenda. Are there any changes that need to be made to the agenda? If there are no changes to the agenda, may we have approval as they are?
I still motion to approve the agenda as it stands.
Second, that's a roar.
Second. Okay. Let's go ahead and do a call. Chair Gish,
Yes.
Eli, Kendra,
Yes.
Aura,
Yes.
Angelique,
Yes.
Pam. Nope. Gina Maria.
Yes,
and the others are out. The other two are out. So there we go.
Thank you. Next is approval of the minutes. Are there any changes or amendments that need to be made to the minutes?
I have some changes on number 3, the motion. We need to add the word agenda to approve the agenda. Agenda is missing as
Okay.
presented. Okay. And on 6B and 6H, there's a motion to postpone the informational until, and there's no date given on either one of those. That's all I have.
I think we didn't have a date. That's why we just postponed it.
Okay.
Real quick, Eli is in the waiting room, waiting to
Oh,
be let in.
I will.
Thank
And
you.
he's here. Now Eli is present.
Thank you. And the only other change that I am requesting is that when we receive the draft from you, Daniel, that it be signed so that if there are no amendments, I can just sign it and send it back.
Okay,
It helps me with not being confused about what draft this is.
not a problem.
Thank you.
So with those changes, with that one change of the word agenda,
Okay.
there you go.
Move
That's all
to
we have.
approve the minutes as amended.
What was that?
Move to approve the
Okay,
the minutes
Okay.
as amended.
okay, and who seconds?
Miriam says she's having trouble getting into the meeting.
Oh, Miriam. I got Lambert in here. I hope she has the right meeting. Okay, let's see. I got 2 people coming in. Is that you, Miriam?
I think it is, yeah.
Yeah, she's coming in as a different name.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay, Gina Marie. Got it.
Maria.
Gina Maria. Got you. Okay, so there you go. You got a motion and a second.
May we have a
So,
roll, please?
Okay, Catherine Gish,
Yes.
Eli Friskus,
Yes.
Kendra Garcia,
Yes.
Aurora Black,
Yes.
Angelique. Is Angelique there?
Yeah, she's there, but she's not answering.
Okay, Gina Maria.
Yes.
Okay, and Miriam, are you here?
Yes.
And she did. Okay, there we go. We got all those.
Thank you. Next is public comments. Are there any public comments?
I have a public comment.
Okay, go ahead.
It's Aurora. The city attorney and the city clerk have been wisely using their time to insist that Daniel call me and tell me not to show my marijuana pipe in the Zoom meetings. Now, of course, I have a medical license. I have multiple
Yes.
sclerosis. I'm being treated for spasticity. And I live in the city of Santa Fe in the state of New Mexico, where it is legal to smoke marijuana in the privacy of one's home, where I am right now. So I'm gonna keep, since Pam is not here, I mean, Pam is the reason I keep my camera on, but she's not here today, so it's not gonna be an issue. But I just find that use of our city resources questionable,
Can I?
because I don't feel it's harming anyone.
Yes. Can I
I'm
comment
done.
on that? Sure.
Yes, Daniel, if you would like to comment, please do.
I just want to just assure everyone that there was no malice from the city attorney on that, or nor the clerk. They are aware of the need for your use, and of course, your right to do so. They asked if, because this is a public meeting, that as you utilize it, you just turn off the camera and then come back on if you'd like. But they don't want to, have that on a public setting. That's all. That's the only reason. And it wasn't intended to prohibit you or anything of that nature.
Just seems weird.
Yes, it is. I've lived long enough to see that I had to do that.
I'm gonna keep my comments off record.
Yeah, I would encourage that.
Are there any other public comments?
Anyone else? Yeah, there's one.
Elijah, go ahead.
I just wanted to say that I'm here. My name's Elijah Valdez, and that I'm just a community member. I just wanted to be on record that I was here today.
Thank you so
Excellent.
much. Any other
Gina
public-
Maria? Okay, your microphone is off.
This is clapping in.
Oh, okay.
Yes, all right. Good to see you.
Okay. Well, I have a small announcement. Tiny, it may not be important. This today is my 1-year anniversary being with City of Santa Fe. Yay, I survived a year. One down. I don't know how long I'll be. I told Regina,
Already,
I told Regina
congratulations.
only, yeah, thank you. I told Regina 15 years and she goes, why only 15 years? I'm probably going to be dead. It's when I'm 75. I don't know. Or-
No, you're gonna live a long, happy life, buddy. Trust me.
Oh, with this group, I don't know. I don't know. Okay. Well,
Doesn't
anyway.
it like make you feel excited to like be doing this and like
Yeah, it makes my
you
heart
know, it
rate.
kind of keeps you going.
It's like jogging a marathon. Yeah.
It's not boring.
Oh, no. But I appreciate all of you. Thank you for working with me and continuing working with me and the city. And my coworkers, I appreciate your help whenever I ask. And thank you for attending the meeting. So
Sure.
I yield back to the chair.
Thank you so much. Are there any other public comments? Or comments on behalf of someone who can't be here? No? Okay. Next, we don't have any presentations, so next is discussion and possible action. Vote for approval of the Mayor's Committee on Disability edits to the August 7th, 2024 CART transcript. Are there any amendments needed to be made to those transcripts? If there are no further edits, may we have a motion to approve the August 7th, 2024 CART transcript as amended?
This is Kendra.
Move.
I move to
Okay,
have the
Kendra,
amended. Yes.
second.
Second, it's Aurora.
Okay.
Aurora.
Okay. I'm changing your name, but even by you. Okay. Do you want me to go and call?
Yes, please.
Okay. Catherine Gish,
Yes.
Eli Fresquez,
Yes.
Kendra Garcia,
Yes.
Aurora Black.
Yes.
Hey. And Angelique,
Yes.
Gina Maria,
Yes.
Miriam. Miriam.
You have to unmute.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, I got it approved. We're good.
Okay, thank you so much. Next is, one second. Lost my agenda. Next is 7B, City of Santa Fe Sidewalk Repair and Maintenance Enforcement Process, and we have several guests here, and Bobby Padilla of Inspections and Enforcement Division Director, and the other two city staff. Heather, I know that you aren't feeling well, so that's okay if you can't say who you are, but if we could please have, just for the record, since you're not on the agenda, to please state your names and what you do.
Hi, thank you for allowing me just to drop in. I just am using this as a learning opportunity. My name is Heather Lamboy. I'm the director of the Planning and Land Use Department. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Heather. And
I'm Bobby Padilla, City of Santa Fe Building Official and Inspections Manager. We also do the code enforcement on the building side. And we're, happy to join you guys today and see how we can help you, explain any of our process. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Bobby.
And my name is Teddy Padilla. I work for the Land Use Department, Compliance Officer. I also oversee ADA site accessibility.
Thank you so much, Teddy, and thank you so much for being here. This is really helpful, and it's really helpful, especially to get things moving forward when we all come together and understand as a group of what is going on, what is required, what is needed, things like that. So I guess this was initiated to bring us all together today. Well, this has been an ongoing discussion, but in the past, I would say pre-pandemic, we haven't really brought it up since the pandemic that I can remember. But Miji, who is here, reached out to me asking questions, not understanding the process. I also tried to find information online and was not really able to. It doesn't mean it's not there. It just means I was not able to. There's definitely some issues that I have with the new website, so it may just be my access needs. But I guess, Miji, if you would like to give a summary of what's going on, and then I can get into my questions and maybe we can get some answers. And I also have questions just about the process. So that's what I have.
Sure, very, very quickly. I live in an HOA controlled subdivision. Starting in 2021, I started taking pictures and trying to get the board's attention about I'm just going to call them pop sidewalks. Some were as much as 4 inches away from the panel next to it. Some were 2 to 3 inches. I even reported my own sidewalk to the HOA as being out of ADA compliance. I didn't get very far. We were in the pandemic, but they kind of told me just to go to the city. So I actually came to this meeting in July of 2023. Regina Wheeler was there. She explained that if I gave her a list of addresses, she would send out her team, and homeowners would get a notice of violation. They would have, I think she said 6 months to repair. If they did not, if the homeowner didn't, that the city would repair it and charge the homeowner back. So in August of 2023, I provided a list of over 60 homes.
Wow.
Because that's how many were out of compliance. I personally, after walking our neighborhood so many times, tripping, hearing from my neighbors who have tripped, I think it's going to get worse because I think the trees that they planted were incorrect. Anyway, didn't hear anything, didn't see any enforcement, blah, blah, blah. Sent a couple of follow-up emails to Regina. And in December, I believe it was Teddy Padilla who came out with a couple of guys and a pile of orange cones and surveyed the neighborhood. I don't think they probably cited as many as I did, but the really bad ones they did. I believe that the letters or what I think you guys refer to as the notice of violations went out in January of 2024. I was so excited, as were many of my senior citizen neighbors who were like, yay, is this the city and not the HOA? Because now something will get done. A month ago, I took another tour of the neighborhood. Of the 60, 8 sidewalks have been repaired. And some of the most egregious ones are still orange cones, no work, and we're about to go into winter which probably means concrete work is not gonna get done. So I guess, and this is one little small subdivision in Santa Fe, but I see these sidewalks or surfaces. I go to the South Side Library. They're nice enough to put orange cones up because the entrance is dangerous. I have written to my city councilors, and I guess I want to help make the sidewalks and the surface areas safer, not only for me, not only for my neighbors, but for the future people, because if the trees are causing the sidewalks to pop, it's not going to automatically fix itself. Something has to happen because the trees are going to keep growing. The roots are going to keep growing. And I know we have a ton of new construction, and I worry that maybe the wrong types of trees are being planted, the irrigation is incorrect. And I would hate to see all this new construction face the same thing that Villa Sonata, which is only 14 years old and shouldn't be having tree root problems like this, becomes a problem for the next generation. So that's why I have been here for the last year. And I hope, and I'll answer any questions that anybody has. That's whatever.
I would just like to comment on your statement there. Out of those 60 or so sidewalks that you say you sent to us, I did go out and issue 60 notice of violations. And yes, there is a time limit for some of these homeowners to get some of these sidewalks done. And I was working diligently to get those remedied. Unfortunately, I left that position to come to a different position. And my predecessor, who is not on this meeting, but his name is Ryan Gomez, he is the new city inspector for Streets Department Public Works. He assured me that those were getting taken care of because I did ask the question. And then as far as the trees that are being planted, we do have a list of acceptable trees that are approved to be planted by the city of Santa Fe and or the homeowners for developments in the public right of way, which are approved and accepted for, not to cause damage to sidewalks. They're more to generate shade to cover the roadways, not to cause damage to these sidewalks. And if there are some trees that are causing damages to the sidewalks and the curb and gutter, it is because possibly the landscapers, whomever planted those trees, planted them incorrectly. And you can't catch that during a 1-year warranty inspection. So at that time, it becomes the homeowner's responsibility again to maintain and oversee the landscape and the sidewalks in front of their property.
Teddy, thank you. I other than just reporting them, I did not know what you guys had done. I know you had done something, but I wasn't sure what, so I appreciate the update. And I have been of the mind that the tree problem here was probably incorrect planting, and it certainly is poor watering, because when we bought our house 6 years ago, they had turned off all of the irrigation and we didn't know that. So I'm sure that part of my sidewalk problem was the fact that the trees hadn't been watered.
That's a possibility because we oversee the new growth of the trees for 1 year.
Okay.
And like I say, not much damage is going to happen within that 1 year.
Within a year, yeah, I agree.
But we do make sure that the trees are being watered sufficiently and, on time with the timers set forth by the landscapers at that time.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Teddy.
You bet.
Thank you for that. So when I talked with Mishi, I realized that I myself don't even know the process to, I live in a very old neighborhood from the 60s. And not very much is ADA compliant here. Most people just walk in the street because there's not much traffic. It's safer to walk in the street than it is on the sidewalks. Some of the sidewalks have, of course, been updated over time, people who wanted to do that, but it's really not enforced. And so I was wondering, Miji, you obviously figured out how to get this process moving forward at least and to have something be done. I don't even know that process. So, and I looked online, that's what I was trying to find is like, is there like a checklist? Is there, a suggested timeline of what to do if, you have a buckling sidewalk or an inaccessible sidewalk? Some of the sidewalks in Santa Fe are owned by or run by the state, some are private businesses, some are by the city. I was not able to find that. It doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Like I said, it just means I wasn't able to find it.
Yes, those ordinances are in chapter 23, which
Okay.
would be sidewalks, sidewalk repairs and public places.
Okay. And is that linked on the website? Because that's one thing.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
it is chapter 23, streets, sidewalks and public places. And those two codes would be 23-1.6 and 23-1.7.
Okay.
And that's all public works and the streets department.
Okay. Thank you. And I will look again. Like I said, I could not find it. But I've had issues with the new website. So
Sure.
The other thing that I wanted to know is the process outlined? Like, does it say, if you have an issue with a sidewalk, this is what this is what it's going to look like. You're going to file this paperwork and then we're going to get in touch with you. And then we're going to do, like, does it list that as a clear outline?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay,
it does.
thank you. Okay, I will look for that. So, I might have to just not, because I tried to Google it and it just wouldn't come up. And I know I have issues with searching the city website itself. So, Daniel, go ahead. You have your hand up.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, Ted can correct me. It is on the department website section. And also you can go to constituent services and they have a variety of complaints you can submit. One of the most popular complaints, and it's all by itself, is and so weed removal from businesses and weed removal from private residents. And the enforcement on that is differently handled, if I'm not mistaken, Bobby. You're turned off your microphone.
I apologize. I think the question, let's see if I can clear the question, what you asked. They're different on public residents and the public and then the residential side, right? So anything in the public way is streets, that would be under the streets division and department. That would still be the same section and same enforcement. The only time the private sidewalk is if it's in the like inside the private property, which could be commercial, residential, if it's not in the public way. So that would be a little bit different enforcement, yes.
So are we saying a sidewalk in front of a person's house, not going past the gutter? Is that what we're saying? Or are we talking on the actual property line?
Anything not inside the private property is the public way, right? So it's usually the sidewalks on the public way. Anything on the inside the property line, from the property line into the owner's property it would be enforced a little different, yes.
Okay. And that would be your division that would be involved in that?
Yes.
Okay, and so then anything past the property line that's the public right of way would be Public Works Division.
That's correct.
Okay, so there we go. Weeds are Public Works.
So then, if you could
Negative.
Go ahead.
No, the weeds are not public works. The weeds are the homeowner's responsibility. Even though it's in the public right of way, the homeowner is responsible for that section of sidewalk, curb and gutter, and buffer strip.
Yeah,
So
that's what I meant, enforcement.
Okay.
Enforcement
Yes.
of that goes to the Department of Public Works for enforcement.
Oh, yes, sir. Okay.
The owners of whether it's a business or residents the owners are ultimately responsible. It's just the enforcement of those components are handled differently.
Yes, sir, you're
Um,
correct.
Okay, that's what we want to make sure. And
Okay.
to clarify, although these obstructions or barriers or damages may have an ADA impact, they are treated as city code violations and not ADA violations because the city enforces city code and they do not enforce federal guidelines. That's up to the Department of Justice and also the courts. But we treat them as local control, local ordinances, local codes, and that's why we have various divisions of how these things are enforced. And that's why I wanted to clarify. Even though it may feel like it's an ADA violation, it's an obstruction for all people, not just people with disabilities.
Correct.
So then, so that was one of my questions, is that when we are filing, and this is true for all city issues, when we go and we file a complaint, awareness, we need something fixed, on the constituent site, there is nowhere to check that it is a disability related need. And so my experience was that when I filed, this is on behalf of an entire building of disabled seniors who could not use the sidewalk because there was a literal tree growing out of the sidewalk. There was nowhere to say that this was impeding people from accessing food because of their disabilities. And so there were seniors literally jaywalking with their walkers and cars having to stop because of they didn't want to hit them. Thankfully they didn't. And it's a 4-lane road. It's pretty busy. And there was nowhere to acknowledge that it was impeding people due to their disabilities. So there was nowhere to get it, I don't want to say expedited, but acknowledged and worked on as an access issue, rather than just pesky weeds, It took 4 months for them to actually remove the tree that was in the middle of the sidewalk. And I will say this, that someone actually went out there and hacked it down before the city got to it, about a month before the city got to it. And it was not done properly. It was done in a very dangerous way where the tree itself was sharp. So it was actually dangerous. Someone literally hacked it down. And I am seeing that as well down the street from me here. Someone cut down chamisas, themselves, you can tell it's not the city. And so, that's happening in places where it's actually a potential danger, because it's not done properly. And so I'm wondering how, again, we've brought this up for years since the constituent services portal was started. How do we identify that something is an access issue for us, for those of us that have disabilities, where it creates a barrier to accessing the resources, services, buses, education, employment, and other things, medical care, that we need? And so go ahead.
So I did have a question. So when you submitted it to the constituent service, they do allow you to elaborate on the concern or the question, right? So that's probably would be the most appropriate place to put, what really the problem is, right?
Yes, I did that. I said that it was impeding seniors from accessing food. Yes. It still took 4 months. So, so
May
I
I-
don't
may
have
I-
an answer for that. Go ahead, Teddy.
May I ask what took 4 months?
Cutting down it was about a 4-foot tall tree, those horrible Chinese elms,
Yeah.
growing in the middle of the sidewalk.
Yeah, those are a nuisance
Yeah.
tree.
It
And
was literally 4 feet tall.
did the city respond to your complaint and it took the homeowner 4 months to get out
It's
there and
not,
get it
it was
repaired?
on a city street.
It was on a
There's no adjacent homeowner. So this was entirely, it's next to the
This-
arroyo. So there
This was on the
no,
city.
yes, this was entirely
Okay.
on the city.
Okay,
I-
do you have the
Can I
name
make a
Ryan
comment?
Gomez with you?
I wrote that down. So
Okay.
yes.
Yeah, he
And I-
is pretty
okay.
good about responding to some of these things, so he
Okay.
should be able to expedite a lot of these things if he knows about them.
Okay. Yeah, this was like, I want to say 2022, but somewhere in there. And I did follow through with the process with photographs and everything.
What was the
At
address
first
of
they
this
told me that it was
location?
up, at first they told me that it was state property, and then it was confirmed that it was not. So that was
What
part of the
what
delay
was the
too.
location of this tree, if you don't
It's
mind?
on Paseo de Peralta,
Uh,
on the across the street from De Vargas Mall, adjacent to the Arroyo.
adjacent to the arroyo.
And
There
it
wasn't
is actually in the same area, but on the street. So there is a disability access path that I will let you know seniors are not using, because there are unfortunately homeless people that are gathering in there, and the senior, especially females, do not feel safe using that access path because it
Okay.
is completely hidden behind trees and brush now. So there is no way to even be seen if someone were to do something.
Okay.
And so because of all of that trees and brush, they are not using that access path. They instead will jaywalk. So yeah.
Okay, again, that would have been Public Works to
Yeah.
remedy that tree problem.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. And that was confirmed several times over throughout the process
Okay,
of trying to get that tree removed. Yes.
I can't believe it took them that long.
I'll send you the emails. I was shocked my own self. So yeah, so that is on city property. So then,
Okay.
you know, it makes me concerned about private property. If city property is taking 4 months, what is going on with private property? And you know, and I'm also concerned because, you know, we are here working on access, and not very many of us have a clear understanding of the process to file a complaint and what is expected. And, you know, so I'm going to go and try and find that information and share it with everyone. And I will let you know for feedback if it's not clear enough, or if something can be added to make it more clear. But I know that just me going through the process as just an average citizen would, I did not feel heard, and I did not feel that the city really took my concern for seniors who literally could not get food without walking in the middle of the road. That I didn't feel that that was heard. And so, and it just seems like there should be a way to flag if it is somehow related to an ADA or access issue for, vulnerable populations that have mobility issues. And I don't see that that is happening with just what I stated in the complaint. So.
Okay.
If, can I add, and when it comes to the.
Hey, I'm sorry to interrupt. This
What?
is Eli. Sorry to interrupt. Miriam is waiting in the waiting
Oh,
room.
got her. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Eli.
So, if you want to, so I just wanted to add on the private side is what it would go through the same similar process. They file a complaint with Constituent Services. Constituent Services usually does a very good job at directing it to the right division. So we in land use has, our inspectors for the construction inspector, and we have a compliance officer within our area that deals with ADA specific issues regarding, if somebody modified a path, or if somebody modified some steps or a handrail, that would be addressed. If it is something to do with like a sidewalk or weeds or trees that may be encroaching into those, they would go to our code enforcement. And so the code enforcement takes care of the weeds, litter, debris on private and when I say commercial or residential property, right?
Okay. I'm making a
Chair
note.
Gish,
Yes, go ahead.
I just, I appreciate all the information. I'm gonna make a pitch since we have so many city officials here today. I moved here in 2019. It was very, very difficult to get the rules of Santa Fe. When I reported all the sidewalks in my neighborhood, I got a lot of pushback from several neighbors who felt like it should be the city's responsibility. And they clearly did not know that it was theirs. I have asked my 2 city councilors about every 3 to 4 months, could they please put out a newsletter talking about these sort of things? Because I think that people want to do the right thing, but I don't think they know. And it is hard to get the rules of Santa Fe in these particular cases. On your agenda today, you have included, because I, at the last meeting, talked about trees and weeds growing out onto the sidewalk. And again, I have tons of pictures of the trees being down to my chest where I get hit in the face. So I'm trying to watch the sidewalk so I don't trip over the uneven panels, and now I get hit in the face. I think the way this is written is in legal nonsense. Give people a number. I checked several other cities. I checked Albuquerque. Their enforcement is that the tree limbs can't be lower than 7 feet. And if it's overhanging a street, it has to be 14 feet. I checked the city of Portland, Oregon, 7.5 feet above the sidewalk, 11 feet above residential streets. Connecticut has encroachment from stuff growing from your yard onto the sidewalk of 4 inches. So when I walk down my street on my sidewalk, this particular thing that was attached to the agenda today leaves a lot to be desired. If you told people what the standard was, we would have less emails or calls to constituent services, and we wouldn't have so much misunderstanding about what does tree trimming mean. And it would be safer, not just for disabled people, but for all people. So with some of your city people here, could we figure out a way to start informing the public of some of what's in the code of hundreds and hundreds of pages into an easy 1 paragraph something about this is what is required of you as a homeowner or a business owner? It's just my opinion, but I sort of feel like I had to do a lot of work to find out that we don't have as much information in the hands of homeowners as we probably should. And that also includes parking problems, which is a whole different issue that I'm not going to talk about today. But I would like to be able to walk down my street without getting hit in the face from a tree limb or tripping over a sidewalk. That's it. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thank you, Miji. And I can confirm too that that's even happening in my neighborhood with the trees, growing in to the sidewalks. Again, like I said, in my neighborhood, everyone is able to walk in the street for the most part. There's very few cars, but that is not the case for most neighborhoods in Santa Fe. And so, even the last place that I lived, there was another issue of, and it was kind of gross. There was apricot trees and right over the sidewalk, and once those apricots were stepped on, it was slick. Like, it was just mushy and gross. And my mom would come back with her cart, or people would step on it, and they would literally slip on those apricots and have to catch themselves. And there's nothing to catch yourself with, so if you don't have balance, you're gonna fall. And so things like that, where that apricot tree was just causing a complete nuisance on that sidewalk and a safety and health hazard. And so, I think of that. And so I'm as you're speaking, I'm thinking of maybe ways that the mayor's committee can work together with, this department and come up with, a consumer friendly, guide, or, maybe when people buy their house, or, it has to be given to them if they're in charge of as a rental, to say, this is your duties and responsibilities to maintain, this area. Because I can say the person that owns this house, that was not clear either. And so, I don't remember ever seeing anything stating what the obligations were. And so, anyway, I'm thinking my gears are going in my head.
I can see that, and you guys are making all valid points, but we as a city, we're not just focusing on one complaint.
Right.
There are hundreds and hundreds and
Right.
hundreds of complaints. And we're not trying to turn a blind eye to them. We're trying to get to them as we can. So we're not ignoring them. They do get acknowledged, they get put on a list, and then when the funds and the availability gets to it, they can then make it to that address and try to remedy that problem. And a lot of this is homeowner responsibility. The apricots on the sidewalk. If you have an apricot tree, you need to go and clean up your apricots. If you have weeds growing in front of your yard, you need to go and clean up your weeds. And yes, if it is city or private property, the city does its part and it hires Cassidy's and Yellowstone to go out there and cut their weeds in the medians. And, the city's doing its part. But on another note, we are reactive, not proactive. We cannot go out there and violate every homeowner that we see. We would never be able to get to our regular duties as an employee of the city because we'd be too busy red tagging everybody because
Right.
everybody's out of compliance. So
Right.
we leave it up to constituents and to contact constituent services to generate that CRM so we can keep track of it and record it that way.
Chair Gish.
Yes, go ahead.
What I'm thinking, and this is outside of the box thinking, is that maybe with Bobby and Ryan and myself, can put together something like a PSA that we can make available, either through, this is another, again, like what we used to do in another city is send it in their water bill, email it to people, promote it in some fashion that here's what you do. Since it's seasonal, we'll talk about weed removal. And then if we're talking about snow removal, we talk about that and their responsibility. And if we're also talking about other related items as far as encroachment and obstructions and apricots, just saying, hey, if you have it, this is you as a homeowner are responsible. You as a homeowner must do this, and then in a friendly fashion, identify the consequences that they could face. So that way there is no ignorance of the responsibility and we're not having to they're not saying to us, well, I didn't know, when in fact we can say we have notified you
Right.
through various means. And that's what maybe we need to work with. And hopefully we can bring it before you, the committee, to look at it as constituents to say, yeah, this might work, this looks good, and then we can agree on it as a community. I'm interested to know if Bobby would be interested in doing that, and if we can pull in Ryan and bring in those three groups to address something that we can work as a community together. So what do you think, Bob?
Yeah, definitely. I wouldn't be opposed to working with you on anything in terms of getting it out to the public. Most of it does impact, the public, the public streets and not necessarily the private side. But yeah, absolutely. I'd be willing to work with you.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Bobby. I really appreciate that. Because one of the things, one thing that I know happened with the apricot tree down my old street was that the homeowners were disabled seniors. And I don't even know if I really honestly don't even think they picked those apricots. Like, I think the tree just got overgrown and they weren't even able to maintain it. And so, maybe I don't know how to deal with that. Like, maybe we can talk about it and come up with a plan of, like, if someone can't, maybe there can be like senior services or something, helping to connect somebody to them, to help them trim that tree back, or something like that. I think that we have a lot of really good community services here, not just within the city, but also within nonprofits that would be willing to help. And so I think if we can figure out ways to deal with those issues as well, I don't know, we'll have to talk about it, but
Yeah,
I think
old-fashioned
that-
neighborhood outreach,
yeah,
old-fashioned
absolutely.
neighborhood watch sometimes. I mean, I know in my neighborhood, I have some seniors, well, in El Paso, where I know they can't pull their trash, so we all pull together. We put our trash cans out and pull them back in, and that's what neighbors do, and maybe that's what we can foster in some fashion.
Yeah, it's just too bad the rest of the world doesn't think that way. That'd be
Well,
really nice if we all could, right? Just everybody
yeah,
pitch in and
yeah.
help.
And we gotta continue trying and doing even if others resist.
Yes,
Because
yes,
move forward. Don't let anyone bring us back.
exactly. I agree.
And I just want to, before I get to Eli and Angelique, I want to read their comments. I just noticed this. Sorry, guys. Eli Fresca said, already love this idea. Thanks, Miji. Plain language, clear guidance, and customer service. And that was in response to Miji's comment about information being made available that is not in legalese. And then Maria Sanchez Tucker, were you saying I would be interested or it would be interest?
Interesting.
You would be
Sorry, I
interested.
typed too quickly.
Yeah, that's okay. You would be interested. It would be interesting in if philanthropy could assist with a fund that could provide assistance for these types of activities for seniors and low-income households. And then she says, I would be interested in exploring it. I would really appreciate that, Maria. And I'm willing to help as well. I have some awareness, but it's not organized, obviously. So yeah, I'm definitely, I think that we should explore that. Just it makes our community better overall. Yeah. And then Eli, go ahead.
Yeah, first of all, I have to hop off at 4, guys. I apologize, I have a meeting. So I just want to really thank the city for being here today and hearing us and being supportive. Real quick, just thinking about the ADA and I guess in a sense they don't enforce the ADA, but they do comply with the ADA, right? So just to mention that. The other thing is, and someone had mentioned this about being reactionary, and I think where we can try to not be reactionary is look at our ADA transition plan, right? So every Title II entity is required to have an ADA transition plan. And I believe that the ADA Pro transition plan is from 2017. So I know that Daniel's working really hard to update the transition planning, but that's where we can try to be proactive in our accessibility and prioritization and all of that. Yeah, I just wanted to mention that. I got one other thing, maybe I'll mention it now real quick, is that I think we may have a discussion about subcommittees. And I've been working with Homeland Security and Emergency Management, and I know we have a subcommittee on core advisory and emergency management and disability. And so I would be more than happy to help support that subcommittee so that we can work with Daniel and everybody who wants to be a part of that. Because as we know, there's so many things going on around emergencies in Santa Fe. So I'm just offering my assistance to help lead that subcommittee or whatever is needed. Again, working with Homeland Security and Emergency Management.
Yes, and some of my friends from FEMA are at the old Kmart now. They have a permanent office, and they're looking at how they can improve the situation for Santa Fe. So
yeah, and
yeah.
Gina Maria worked with FEMA as well. So she also has quite a bit of experience there too.
Yes.
So thank you. And last thing on my list is Daniel, happy birthday.
Happy birthday. Happy anniversary. Yes.
Same difference.
Yes.
Thank you. Angelique?
Kathleen, so I wanted to just voice my concern. You guys already brought it up, but a lot of these households that have overgrown trees and stuff are our seniors, are our disabled, are low-income households. I don't in any way want to hurt them by enforcing such a strict code that we hurt them in the long run. And another thing I would be worried about is an increase in rent, because if we're adding more expenses to the homeowner, they're going to have to cover those expenses somehow. So I think a discussion at a table is really smart before we try to hold anyone accountable to that extent. You know, we have to be really wise when it comes to the disabled community and, like I said, the seniors and low income.
Yeah, with that being said, I would think, Maria, when we put together some kind of PSA, that we would involve you so we can brainstorm on that type of a solution or approach to be languaged in some way. So that way the senior that it's being notified knows there's an option if that can be created.
Yes, please include me.
Thank you, Maria. Thank you, Bobby. Thank you, Teddy, and thank you, Heather. I do need to move on to the next items. But I absolutely will be in touch with you, and Eli says thank you to the city staff. And I think that this feels really productive and really positive, I think. And so and I'm gonna go try and find those pages. I really genuinely tried, but I don't know. I don't know what happened.
Do you guys have my email on this?
No, can you please tell us what that is?
Yes, it's TL Padilla at santafenm.gov. And any of you, please feel free to reach out to me and I will send you any information that I could possibly dig up for you and help you out
Thank you so much,
with
Teddy.
any of the code. You bet.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, everyone.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye. Okay, now I have to orient myself to the next one. 1 second. Okay, so next is, gosh, 1 second. Item 7C, updates on City of Santa Fe age-friendly resolution and implementing process for the City of Santa Fe to become an age-friendly city. And we have Maria Sanchez Tucker from Director of Community Services with us. Thank you so much for being here. And go ahead, I think, give a brief summary of what the age-friendly resolution is. You know, we know that the Mayor's Committee was involved in supporting that to move forward, and have been trying to move it forward and support it to move forward. So go ahead.
Yes, thank you. Thank you all for inviting me to be here. I'm really pleased to say that the City of Santa Fe has been accepted into the AARP age-friendly city designations. And so we will begin the process of working through their cycle of planning so that the city residents can provide input on how the city becomes more age-friendly. And as we think about age-friendly, your group really helped provide some input on the resolution of support for us applying to become an age-friendly city. In that age-friendly is everybody, all ages, right? 0 to 100, people of all abilities and needs, and that we make everything more accessible in our community, and that we think from a age-friendly mindset and framework as we're planning for future growth, for infrastructure projects and those type of things. So this project will start with our first phase would be a community survey and input. And so I want to think about how we are going to survey the community and what kind of community organizations and stakeholders we need to help us seek input. And so I think that's areas where this committee can really help guide us in moving forward with seeking input, because that's going to be really important that we get as many voices and input as possible as we create a plan for the city. And we're also going to have to bring in city departments, as you saw with the last group, land use and public works and
sanitation.
Really all of our departments are going to have to be involved in this planning process, because it will impact them in some way as planning for goals and projects in the future. And so I'm really excited about it. The ARP, once we got the designation, we're still planning an announcement. And so I'm hoping that this group can be a part of that announcement. We haven't planned it yet, but hopefully we can do sort of a formal press release, and maybe, Chair Gish or somebody from your committee can also speak to the newspaper about what a great project this will be for the community. And then also thinking about, what kind of questions, what kind of input we actually want to receive from the community as we look at a survey strategy and input strategy. And so I think that first phase, we're trying to determine right now if we do this in-house or if we find a consultant that helps us develop the survey, because AARP has a simple tool that we can adapt and send out. But I think I would love for you all to think about that and give me some input on, you know, what you think. I saw that Eli also put in the chat that he'd like to chat with me more, so I can definitely get some input from him. And I'd love to hear more from you. So we're just at this beginning phase. But one thing I will say so far is that the AARP has a portal of all the communities that are part of this project. And I've been logging in and reading articles. They have a resource library, they have webinars. So if there are things that are valuable to your committee, I will definitely forward them to Daniel to send to you, because there's some really good information. I was just reading an age-friendly planning guidebook that was put together by Cornell. And so hopefully, you know, some of those resources can help us build on best practices to get the most out of this project.
Yes,
So that's where
Maria.
we are now. We're just beginning, but I really welcome input and want to work with you. And like I said, this is going to have to be broader than just the city. It's going to have to be input from community organizations, from the community and our city working together. We also have hired a new community health and safety director. So that would be my supervisor, Henry Hammond Paul is his name. And I'm excited to talk to him about this project, because he might have some good input on, you know, how we think of a more broader community safety and health approach to our services. And so it was really helpful for me to hear this last conversation that you had, knowing that we face challenges just within our own community facilities that I oversee that are in my department, and knowing that we have our own challenges. And so hearing that input was really helpful. So I will continue to think about ways that we can improve and work with the community.
Yes, and Maria, even though I'm from a different department, I'd like to partner with you and be your support internally in the staff. And so when you choose to discuss this with your director, count me in, how I can fit in or what you need from me, so that we can go forward together, because
Yes.
I'm also doing some things that might complement what you're doing.
Yes, you're going to
So
be
let's work.
key input. So yes, I
So
will.
yeah, I'm here with you, and
We can plan our strategy together, but hopefully we can do it with a lot of input.
Excellent.
I think Eli had to sign off. He had his hand raised, but I think he had to sign off. So he says, I have to hop off, but Maria and all, please let me know about the age-friendly program. Many older adults don't consider themselves people with disabilities, which is true. Even though they are legally and physically and mentally. But that doesn't stop us from acknowledging that they fit into these categories, even if they don't consider themselves that. And that they have specific needs that are related to those categories. And so what I really appreciate, and first, Maria, thank you, because when I first was like, why is this stalling? Like, we wanted this to move forward, you know. So thank you for moving it forward. And thank you for following through with including the mayor's committee, because that I remember being very clear about that we wanted to be part of this, and how important it is to make this process accessible and inclusive for everyone. And so, and I genuinely believe that you will make that possible and you will make that happen. So I really, really appreciate you and
Thank
appreciate
you.
what you're doing. So thank
Yeah,
you.
this will be a new project for us to undertake. We'll all learn from it. And I think that's the thing, is it has to be inclusive. And just the idea that we wanted to include 0 to 110, right? Or I don't know how old the oldest person in Santa Fe is, but that we want to include everybody of all abilities, that we make things easier for folks to access services, to access, you know, parking, all of these things that we need to improve, that we kind of just make things easier and accessible. So I think it's for everybody. As I get older, you know, things become more and more difficult. And so We just want it to be a well-planned community.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. I know one of the things that I had questions about, and I know we're gonna work on this because you mentioned it, but making the surveys like accessible and identifying who the surveys should go to. How do we get those surveys to them? Is there a process that you have in mind right now to start that, or are you not there yet?
Well, I was originally thinking we would hire a consultant to help us along. But I don't know that maybe that's necessary. Maybe our first phase is to do the survey internally. Or I solicit bids from a consultant to do both sort of the survey and then the plan to help us along. And so I think depending on how much that will cost. But I think right now I would love to hear input on stakeholders, people we need to bring into the conversation and try to think of different ways that we can solicit input. So maybe it's a general survey, electronic survey that goes out to the community, but it could also be smaller focus groups with different organizations, you know, at the senior center, but also what organizations would we need to include. It could be the hospitals, it could be, you know, within our own city department. So I think
we have the paratransit users that could be sent information.
Sorry, what was that, Daniel?
The paratransit users.
Right. So I think
I mean, they are a mixed group, a mixed age group and mixed disability group. They're one source that could tell us something, and they don't have to surrender their identity.
And I think if you have ideas or names or organizations that we should start adding to a list,
yes,
we can start doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Gina Marie.
Gina Maria.
I'm sorry, I'm Maria.
That's all right.
I do it too.
I hate that happens to me all the time.
The Center for Healthy Aging through Krista St. Vincent would be a great ally.
Yes.
And then I think of all the disability organizations and the school for the hearing impaired here in Santa Fe, and like the Autism Society and the ARC and Kendra, God, fill in the blank. What is it? Where you work?
Oh, Vista.
New Vistas.
New Vistas.
Mm-hmm. I say it with an accent. Everyone says it New Vistas. I'm the only one. My Spanish comes out when I say New Vistas. But
yep.
yes.
Claro.
Yes. And senior centers, that was another one I was gonna suggest, of course. And then what was I gonna say? The hospitals, of course. Those are the main ones. Any of the organizations, aging and long-term services. Definitely would be another big one to probably get input. Any of the like home health care agencies, so like Amber Care and things like that.
Trails.
Yes. So that would just be an addition that I thought would be a good place to kind of get that information and that data.
That's great. Thank you.
And Gina Maria, do you have anything else to add?
Yeah, hang on 1 second. I have the 2020 guide here. Aging and Disability Research, the ADRCs. This is the wonderful guide they put out in Wisconsin. I kept it. Yeah, I want to make one of these wherever I go. We don't have.
Yeah, there are some handbooks that I'm aware of that get printed annually, and we can, if I find one of those, I will absolutely grab several. Gina Maria, is there anything else?
No, that's all. Thanks.
Thank you. Angelique?
Maybe we could also include Department of Health, ISD, HSD, just because a lot of them receive Medicare services. Some of them are on the waivers, and I think they'd be a great resource.
Thank you, Angelique. Anything else? Okay, so then my addition is that I am aware, my mom lives in one of the numerous affordable housing senior buildings here that are low income tax credit buildings, you know, of various kinds. There's numerous programs, some is subsidized housing, some is not. And a lot of those seniors are really not connected to anything. Like they are really sincerely isolated. And so if we can somehow, I don't know how much management would want to do the extra work. But if we can somehow connect to those seniors, I think that we would find and connect with a population that often is not connected to significant resources. They may be connected to one or two things, but not nearly as much as they need. I know one of my mom's neighbors is like really struggling to get food right now, like really sincerely homebound, not able to drive, not able to get food. And so, you know, things like that. And she also was not aware of the low income water credit. And so, you know, we're trying to connect her with that. So things like that, like they're not even aware of resources and they don't have the resources to connect to the resources.
Yeah.
And so
I think we need to do a better job of making sure that seniors know about all of the services we provide and then connecting them to resources. So thank you for bringing that up. Because we do provide homebound meals. And so hopefully she can get on that list to be assessed to receive those. And then I don't know if her, where your mother lives, do they have one of the senior centers there?
No.
Or is that one that's not? Okay.
It's not connected. No.
Okay.
And I will email you the information. And this is like numerous seniors, and there's also a secondary issue that I don't want to say on record yet, happening in that building that is also impeding people who even can walk enough to go to the grocery store. But it's impeding them from even accessing food right now. So it's actually a really bad situation.
Thank you. Feel free to reach out and let me know
Yeah,
about that.
I will. Thank you so much. And Kendra says I will need to jump off to address the issue that just came up. My apologies. That's fine, Kendra. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah. And then Angelique.
Maria, I'm not sure if you are aware that our nonprofit actually partnered with the Mary Esther Senior Center, and we put together 500 bags of food for the seniors. They were able to come in, anyone over the age of 60 was able to get a bag, and it was full to the top of different like things, as much as we could get done. And then on Thursday, we passed those out. The seniors that could not come in, we had their respite providers or different city employees drop those off, different volunteers. Kathleen, another thing that we were discussing is having volunteers pick up bags from the food depot, have a list of seniors that need groceries delivered to their homes, and have them dropped off there at their homes for them. And another thing is the city provides respite providers. We're a little low on employees as of now, but great respite providers, and they cook for them. They make sure they're fed and taken care of. They're only there like maybe 2 hours during the day or whatever, but it's a start and it's a tool. So we should make sure that people are aware of those respite providers and make sure that if they are in need of one, that they get one. You know, we could talk to Manuel and kind of put together a list of people that are in need of groceries. If your mom is one of them, you know, we just drop it off at the door, or if they need us to carry it in, and then we just leave. So yeah, let's figure out something to reach the seniors, to provide for them, and actually be a blessing to them.
Thank you, Angelique.
Yeah, thank
Which
you.
organization partnered? I knew about the bags, but I didn't know who the partner organization was.
We're Be the Blessing. So we help Manuel with, you know, the food part. And then he also invites us over to do the Be the Blessing baskets for Christmas. We provide those, and those have all of the essential items that might get them through the holiday season, at least to relieve a little bit of their budget. But that's what we're here for, you know, whether, yeah. So let's
Yeah.
talk Yeah, about that.
Thank
Okay.
you so much. We really appreciate that. I know, weren't those bags just wonderful? We received funding from the New Mexico Grown. And so that was, we were able to purchase homegrown, New Mexico grown food. So there were like beans and atole and chile in the bags. And so thank you for supplementing that. We really appreciate that.
Yeah, and that is also one of the things that I know that my mom has needed is access to fresh food. A lot of places give canned goods. But eating canned goods for months on end. My mom is luckily able to, for the most part, prepare meals. But getting to the grocery store a lot or as much as she needs to, and being able to physically shop or or having the money even to physically shop and getting fresh food is not always possible. So I know that she's not alone. And so, I'm seeing a lot of seniors in her building do not have vehicles. And there's been, a lot of issues with the senior transportation, not having enough drivers, and also the fact that it costs $10 for a round trip ride for paratransit for seniors if they don't have it for disability needs. And if they do have it for disability needs, it's still $4. So, I don't know if we can maybe work towards getting, the tokens covered or something for seniors who are maybe like on the low income water credit or something where they automatically get free rides because they are so severely low income. So
And we have the senior services transportation, and then we have the city transportation. And so, but we need to look at all of that. So thank you for bringing that up.
yeah, absolutely.
Create one good package.
I think that is all I have. I just wanted to touch base, Maria, and go, Gina Marie, you just raised your hand. Did you have something to say?
It's just something that's come up that I've noticed, and that is that there are a lot of delivery services, but people cannot use their EBT cards to buy the food if they need it delivered. So that just creates another layer of bureaucracy. And I'm wondering if maybe approaching some of the local food providers that we have some level of connection with might be able to, because I know that Sprouts delivers, and I'm like asking them questions. How does this work, and what are the options, and can you divide it up into two different, one for food and one for delivery?
Or maybe a legislation needs to be promoted to be brought forth to exempt certain foods from being delivered,
Yeah, and then Target, the other thing is too, this happened to me the other day. I was checking out and they're like, well, we're running low on this. Do you want to substitute it? So I went through the whole substitution list and got to the end, and it's like, can't use your EBT card for substitutions. I'm like, well, that's nice, great. So end up driving to the store and getting half of what you need. I'm like, this is insane. But that's a big chain, so that would be hard, very difficult to, well, maybe send a letter to Minnesota, send a letter to Tim Walz and see if he can get it changed. Sorry.
A lot of this, I know the history of this because I like I said, I've been homebound numerous times in my life and not able to even use my EBT at all. And especially like pre-pandemic, like we were literally begging for the ability to order anything online, the ability to have any sort of delivery. And the only reason why it happened was because of the pandemic. They were sitting on it. It was part of the Farm Bill for like over a decade. It was just sitting there, not going anywhere. And it was like, there was like a handful of pilot programs in the country, and it was not expanding at all. And then the pandemic hit and they were forced to acknowledge that people could not access food, which happened pre-pandemic, but they didn't acknowledge it to the extent that they needed to. And so during the pandemic, they started moving it forward. There is some interesting issues. One that I actually recently experienced with Market Street, where it requires 2 forms of payment, even if you only have food. So, and I even emailed them and I said, you know, not everyone who has an EBT card has a credit card or a debit card or something else to put in as the second form of payment. And so if there is only food being purchased, it should not require that second card.
Yeah, that could be a violation.
Yeah. And so I haven't gotten a response. I think they just sent me some generic thing back. It was not an actual response. But that's the kinds of things that people are facing with EBT, is that they are requiring more than a lot of people have in order to use it. And so it's the same thing you were talking about, Gina Maria. It's these blocks where, you know, yeah, you can use it, but only if you meet these certain criteria, and only if you don't need substitutions, or only if you can pick it up at a certain time, or only, you know, it's like there's just so many barriers. And all of this is food access for people who predominantly do not have vehicles and do not have the ability to get food easily. Which is why we're doing either pickups or deliveries or things like that, where we have like one ride, we can get to the store for like 5 minutes and someone's willing to just go there and take us home, you know? And so, you know, we just need to have less barriers, overall.
And freedom of choice.
Exactly. Yes.
Freedom of choice, yeah.
Yes.
That's
Actually,
why legislation needs to be considered to change that, to open it up.
yeah.
Yeah, so that's something we got to talk about.
Yeah. Angelique?
And let's keep in mind that a lot of individuals live off of SSI. Some of our disabled or elderly do not qualify. If they're living on retirement, they still don't qualify for EBT. And if they do, it's a very small amount, like $25. So we need to keep that in mind. Like, they depend on the food banks, the churches. It's an important resource for them to stay alive.
And Angelique, I need to confirm this, but I think that the state just made it so that the least payment that will be made is $100. I need to figure out exactly who is going to get that $100, if they have to be categorically eligible, or, you know, which means that they're on SSI or SSDI. I don't know. So I'm going to hopefully find that information. I saw it and I was like, are they really going to do that? Because they need to. They need to if they're not going to. So I will find that. And if I find it, it'll be in the next month's packet, because they're putting information out more and more. But if anyone else sees that, please, please, please send it to me, because I am looking for it actively as to who qualifies for that minimum $100 payment.
Okay.
Because right now it's like $22.
Have all that information. I have
Yeah.
all that information I can send
Okay.
you.
Okay,
Alright.
thank you, Elijah. Awesome. Okay, so I think that that's all for this conversation. And Maria, I really, really, really appreciate this so much.
Thank you. Gary Williams sends his regrets that he couldn't be here today, but if you do have questions about the process or anything coming up, I can, in a couple of months, maybe come back to the committee and provide an update, and I'll keep you all in the loop as we continue to plan. So if I need to come back sooner, I'll let you know, but I will send resources your way. If you have questions in the meantime, feel free to send them to Daniel and he can get them to me, and I'll get the answers.
Okay.
Yes.
And then I think just be thinking about what questions are important to ask the community as we start to frame the survey. I'll send Daniel the template that ARP gives
Excellent.
us as a starting point. And then if you think about supplemental things, we can try to include those in our, however the survey turns out. So I will keep you all updated. So thank you so much for inviting me, and thank you for the work
Hang
you do.
on.
Appreciate
The
it.
next item might involve you.
Oh, you did?
There's another item on
Oh,
the
it's the
agenda.
library.
Yeah, and I know Chair Gish is gonna have a question for you.
Okay.
So go ahead.
Well, I might. It depends on if I remember. 1 second. So the next item is 70, City of Santa Fe Public Library Disability Employment Awareness Month planning and year-round collaboration calendar planning. And in the packet, I included a calendar. 1 second. It did not number my items properly. So, and even though they're itemized, it's not showing up on my program. It's really frustrating. Gemini says, sorry, I have to step out. See you next month. Thank you so much for being here, Gemini.
Happy to be here. You guys take care.
Thank you, you too.
Good work going on.
Thank you. So in this packet, I included the ultimate, it's the longest one I could find, the ultimate list of U.S. International Disability Awareness Days. And what I was wanting from the Mayor's Committee members is to identify, well, really anyone involved in this, really, it's not just Mayor's Committee members, anyone who wants to be part of this, to identify things that the library could create a resource table from, or could, you know, if we're lacking in those resources, maybe they can like find resources, buy books, you know, buy materials, things like that to promote those things, awareness of those issues and needs. I know that Jessica from the library at the South Side, you know, went way out of her way to play Crip Camp for you know, Disability Pride Month, with like almost no notice. She made it happen. So like I said, librarians to me are magical people. They get things done. They find things that you cannot find. And they support awareness of needs and issues and information and all of that. So, so have complete faith in our librarians to make these things happen. But I wanted to know, from all of you, what the important things are that the library could do. Like this month is Disability Employment Awareness Month. I have some resources. I have not gotten in touch with them because the last week has been, I have not had even a minute to myself to organize anything. But I have some resources for them to just drop off if they would make room for them, and I'm sure that they will. But what kinds of things would we want to be at those tables? What kinds of things would support also the library? So I know that in other, I just went to Los Alamos, and Los Alamos Public Library has different accessibility things like the I can't remember what it's called. Daniel, what's it called?
The enlarger.
Magnifier.
Yeah.
Do they even have a Kurzweiler? That'd be old.
The
No, it's-
library has one.
Do they?
They do. But I wonder about promoting it and if anybody uses, like, you know,
I
if
don't
it's
know if they use
promoted.
it
So
anymore.
I can ask about that.
Yeah.
There was one.
Does it
And
still
you-
work?
And you guys have you
I will
have a
check.
magnifier. Yeah, our libraries have a magnifier. I know that, a larger.
Do you know where it is? Because I've never seen it.
I know in the south
Theirs
side
is
they
like
have.
right out in the open, like
Yeah.
literally like right where
Yeah.
you walk in the library.
It should be
Yeah.
more accessible. I'll check into that for
Or
you.
identifiable, you know,
Yeah.
yeah.
But
Elijah-
yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
I'm sorry I have to leave
okay.
because we have
That's okay.
quality of life, but if there are ways I can support this effort,
Okay.
you know, like you said, librarians are magical. They get everything done. They want to be helpful, so they love doing displays. So if there's any way I can support it, please let me know.
Okay.
But I think giving
Yeah.
them the ideas and then you know, their challenge always is funding. And so if there's some way I can support that too, let me know.
Yeah,
Thank
the
you so
library,
Okay.
the city manager of El Paso is a former librarian
I know, I saw
from
that.
New
I was so
York.
impressed.
She is so cool. I like her.
Yeah, I thought that's really amazing.
She,
So
she is impressive.
okay, well, thank you all so much. If you have any questions, let me know. Have a
Okay.
great day.
Thank you,
Thank
to
you.
Maria. Okay, so Elijah, I just saw your comment. Elijah Valdez says September is Deaf Awareness Month, and Santa Fe has New Mexico School for the Deaf with a lot of deaf community living in the area as well. There could be things about sign language and deaf culture on a table during the month next year. That's awesome, Elijah. Thank you. And I will make a note of that. So yeah, that's the kinds of things that I'm wanting. Like, how can we build awareness in this community of anything related to disability. Like I went through their library list just searching, you know, as quickly as I could. Like I literally was just saving it, and I was saving them the books and the resources that I liked, which was like a lot of them were personal, like autobiographies about their people's experiences trying to get work, or you know, personal stories where someone was disabled and got a job and they wrote a book about it, you know, things like that. All of that to me is part of Disability Employment Awareness Month. You know, telling those stories, whether it's positive or really challenging, it all needs to be heard. And so it's not just like, you know, practical resources for how to get work or things like that, but it's actual resources that are available or challenges that people faced. How do we tell those stories in our community to make people be aware of how challenging it can be to be disabled and try to get work. I just saw this morning, I read a really good article that I can actually send it to everybody about a disabled employee who has over $300,000 a year of expenses covered by Medicaid. And she has a corporate job with Chase Bank, and she lost her SSI and then
Yeah.
lost her Medicaid. And because of losing the Medicaid, now she can't cover the $300,000 of expenses to maintain her employment. And so her option now is going to be to reapply for SSI and stay isolated and in poverty in order to maintain the Medicaid the Medicaid services that she needs. And a lot
It's
of
a
us
disincentive to work.
it's a complete disincentive to work.
And it's like various disabilities also have differences. Like someone who is blind has different needs than someone who's quadriplegic and has a Tenacare. Tenacare will eat up 30% of their income.
Right.
And so it just doesn't, it's not equitable.
Yeah.
And this is the future discussions that need to take place at the federal level.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
That's
And so, but I think
where I want to go. Sorry.
that's okay. So for me, it's that how do we get awareness to the community that disabled people do want to work, do want to be part of the community, do want to quote unquote contribute in the way that, you know, our society really expects of adults to do. And then how do we make sure that those services and Medicaid is maintained? And so I know this is beyond the city of Santa Fe. It's a national issue. I'll say issue to be nice. And so, you know, but to me, it affects our community as well. It's not bringing in the income to our community that it could be. It's not supporting the people who need the support to be able to be employed. So, and it does affect our local economy, absolutely. And so, but this is all just things of like, you know, just asking for a table about, you know, Disability Employment Awareness Month raises these kinds of issues. And so, and it brings awareness to our community about what's going on with disabled people. Because one of the main things that a lot of people don't know is that Medicaid is the sole insurance that covers disability related needs. And yet it requires poverty in order to get it. And so, go ahead. Yeah.
So maybe we need to, instead of making it a concern, we're saying this is a disability goal.
Yeah.
And we approach our soon to be Congress members and senators that are going to be elected in this area and also the state to create some kind of a roundtable on Zoom with them or their representatives and to identify what can be done, what needs to be done, and then have them come back to what they are willing to push forward as a state on behalf of people with disabilities to make it a goal, not addressing a need or addressing a concern. It's addressing a goal.
Yeah. Thank you, Daniel. Gina Maria, go ahead. I know you're.
Yeah, Gina Maria, sorry.
Yeah, you know, I'm chomping at the bit. So, can you go to the Disability Employment Awareness Month event that's happening at the Roundhouse on the Friday, the 17th, if I'm not mistaken. I'm just whipping this off at the top of my head. The 18th, 17th, I don't know
It's
what
the
day.
17th. Yeah, it's October 17th, and it's
Okay, so it is 17th. It's
DEA.
Thursday.
DEAM.
Yes.
Yeah.
Can you go and tell that story?
It depends on what I'm doing this month. You have no idea. Gina Marie, I have to tell you what's gonna happen with my October. But yeah, no, I mean, this isn't even my story. My story is
I
related
know
to
it's
that,
not
so
your
it's,
story,
yeah.
but it's a really, really good story, and it's so demonstrative of the gigantic hurdles that people have to jump through to be able to get out of poverty and to be able to live, not just survive, to frickin' thrive, excuse me, flippin' thrive.
The
Yes, I
pursuit
agree.
of happiness ends when you become disabled. That's what is wrong about the circumstances that we're in. And that is
I
why.
never heard anyone say that. Thank God I never heard anyone say that till now.
Yeah, and that's what's happening in since the government has taken that
Can't
right
kill that
away.
part of me, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, the way that I describe it is that when you become disabled, you fall off a cliff. And
Yeah.
that's, you lose
And keep
everything.
falling.
You
And
lose
never
everything that you had, and it shouldn't be that way. And then you have to
Mhm.
fight for the things that you need, and it shouldn't be that way. So, Angelique, go ahead.
Kathleen, another thing is it not only hinders individuals with disabilities, but their spouses, or whether they do have a spouse because they're afraid to get married because their spouse will lose their benefits. Another thing is parents, right? You have several children and then you have a child with disabilities. And all of a sudden, both parents can't work if they're going to have that SSI and that Medicaid for their kids. So we touch on every family dynamic when it comes to disabilities and hindering them, keeping them below the poverty line, not even at the line, but below the poverty line. And so, yeah, this affects a lot of people in very negative ways.
And then the statistics and data will say, oh, people with disabilities are more likely to be in poverty, but we are required to be in poverty to have the things that we need covered. And so because we can't possibly earn as much as we need to cover everything that we need. So we literally are required to stay in poverty to get those medical services, long-term care services, adaptive equipment, all of those things covered that are thousands and thousands of dollars. And so, and yeah, the issue with parents with children with disabilities, if their child becomes disabled, they literally have to liquidate all of their resources to get SSI for their child. It's means tested. They can have $2,000 per child and $3,000 per parent couple. So it's like if you have one child with a disability and two parents, you can't have more than $5,000 total resources in every single source. Everything counts. So if you can have access to it, it has to be used before you can qualify for SSI and Medicaid. And so, things like that literally require poverty. And I can say for someone like me, getting a master's degree, I got DVR to cover that. That was about $40,000 of costs. But then when you try to go to work, I would have to make enough money to cover all of the costs on Medicaid for my services and needs. And when I looked into it, I can only have $10,000 total resources. So I can make money, but I can't save any of it. And so what do? You're just supposed to just blow your money. You can't save for retirement. You can't save for emergencies. You can't save to put money down on a home. It's like, you're just like extremely limited. And so all of these things are, part of Disability Employment Awareness Month. All of it impedes people from employment. So independence, exactly.
And that's why, we need to utilize the ADA in that the Social Security Administration program is in violation of the ADA's program access principles. And that's maybe the steps that we need to take is a class action lawsuit against Social Security Administration that their program discriminates.
Yes.
And that's an
Oh, I have a
option.
whole list. I have a whole list, Daniel.
Because
I read
I
those
mean
laws.
it's no different than if we as well actually they would come under the Rehab Act. It wouldn't be ADA. It would be the Rehab Act that they would be accountable to because the ADA applies to local government states. But then the state with Medicare and all that needs to be looked at too.
Angelique, go ahead, and then I need to move on.
And let's not forget that individuals with disabilities, if they're put in a hospital or a rehab hospital
Yes.
for over a certain amount of period, they have to pay that money back.
That's
So
wrong.
that individual or that family land up behind in their bills, right? Because they don't have that money to survive that month.
That's incorrect, and that shouldn't be done. That should be done away with, especially when they become homeless as well, too. I mean, it's just, you know, they're being forced to live in substandard shelters, and that's something that needs to change.
On SSI, I know these policies in depth. That's why I say, like, I know that it violates something, even
Human
if it's just
decency.
basic
It
decency.
violates.
Yeah.
Yeah, just basic human decency.
That there is a policy, they're finally getting away from the food, counting food as income, as in-kind income, but they still are counting rent and utilities. But there literally is a law in the Social Security Administration Programs and Operations Manual, POMS, and it says that people on SSI can eat discarded food without it counting against them. And it is the most, I cannot believe that someone actually wrote that into a law that we can eat trash.
Well,
without
otherwise
it
you wouldn't
counting
be, if it
against
wasn't
us.
been writing, you wouldn't be allowed to.
Yeah, no, it would count. It would count against us as countable food. Yeah.
What do we, oh,
Yeah.
this is why,
So
yeah.
so those are that's the level of laws, and the more that I read through those laws, it is extremely dehumanizing. Over and over and over. You know, restricting us from resources, punishing us for birthday presents, punishing us for trying to be employed, you know, over and over. So all of these things impede our access to the community, our access to employment, our access to what we have a right under the ADA and the Olmstead Act and the 504 Rehabilitation Act. And so, you know, I definitely think that we need to acknowledge that for our citizens with disabilities in New Mexico, as well as in Santa Fe, that these are the kinds of things that we are experiencing. And so it's not just barriers to employment, it's literally barriers to receiving birthday presents. You know, it's like the most basic levels of inclusion. So one thing though, that to get back on track with the library, I would love for each of you to go through that list. And if there's not something on that list, please find it that you are aware of. Elijah, I've written down the September Deaf Awareness Month. That's awesome. And I think that is very, very critical for Santa Fe to celebrate and experience just awareness of overall. We have a it's a very prominent school for the deaf here in Santa Fe. And I, like I said, you know, in the past, I learned ASL because of my deaf friends and wanting to communicate with them directly. And so, you know, I think that is part of our culture here in Santa Fe, and it should be celebrated and acknowledged. So thank you, Elijah. Okay, I need to move on because we have like 15 minutes and I promised Daniel I wouldn't go.
Yeah, we can't go
Probably
over.
gonna go over just a little bit, but not much. So this, I'm just gonna do a quick overview of next month. We're gonna vote on this. But I wanted to give a heads up. So we had discussed our top 5 priorities, which was the transition plan for Daniel Lopez, the move the MCD ADA to Office of Equity and Inclusion as planned, emergency management and planning, which Eli had mentioned previously, City Hall accessible civic engagement, website accessibility requirements in accordance with updated WCAG 2.1 AA. And so I have been trying in between all of this to figure out how to do a strategic plan. I've seen some strategic plans like from the Women's Commission, Veterans Advisory Board, a few others. I looked up others as well. One thing that I noticed was that those strategic plans as written had a tremendous amount of support. It wasn't just the chair writing it. So when I was thinking about how I'm going to do this, I need a team. Like I literally need a team to make it happen. I think it can
Dina
happen.
Maria.
Oh no, they paid people. I don't know how we can get contractors that know how to write strategic plans, but that seems like what happened. I'll send it to you, Daniel. But like it's not just the people on the committee, like it was like people who have experience writing strategic plans, which I do not. So and the other thing that I noticed in between all of that is that the other two committees that would be aligned with us under the Office of Equity and Inclusion have budgets, which we do not. So all of that's going forward.
We need
as
to
much
ask for
as
a
they-
budget.
Yeah, we need to ask for a budget to promote our needs to the community. We absolutely do. But so one thing that I'm going to ask each of you, I gave a list of possible subcommittees on here. And let me see, I'm trying to find it. So policy and planning, which would be resolutions, ordinances, and review of policy. It would be things like working on the BPAC resolution, things like that. Like, should we take it on? Should we not? If we have resolution ideas, it would be providing drafts of those and doing the outreach needed to do those kinds of drafts. It's okay if you don't know how to write policy. That's not the entire point of it. You know, I'm capable of working together with city staff and the governing body to really draft something necessary. And then emergency planning subcommittee, city-state emergency management process. We have already had some kind of work on that a little bit. And then civic engagement subcommittee, general outreach, committees, committee meeting access. So this would be like the accessible public meetings kind of thing. So this is all related to our priorities and really honing it down and working towards actually achieving these priorities. There's flexibility. I just wanted to put this out there that this is what I'm thinking to do. And I'm also thinking too, because I've been doing too much for the last 3 years and I am feeling it, that, you know, my role is going to be, I would love for my role to be more supportive and also like finalizing things. So, you know, and to be like more of like a person that you go to if you don't know what to do. And then I can facilitate things to happen and do all of that kind of work rather than being the one who is also doing everything else. And so I think that if we can organize this, it's going to go back to exactly the way that it was pre-pandemic, but better organized. And so, and more strategic. So we have our focus areas, and it doesn't mean we're not focusing on other or bringing in other things as needed. Like if there's, you know, sidewalk issues or things like that, it all actually relates to everything. Sidewalks are part of emergency management and planning. Like people need clear sidewalks to evacuate, things like that. So, or to attend meetings. So, you know, it all interrelates. But that's my thoughts. And so I would like feedback and ideas because we are going to vote to implement this. And I want to make sure that we are clear that we are going back to how things were
Yes.
for the pandemic, but more organized.
Yeah, let's make it a goal to bring it forward for the next meeting.
Yeah.
And we'll have something to vote on.
Yeah. Yeah,
Good.
because I didn't put it to vote and I don't want them to invalidate this meeting for that.
Okay,
Yeah.
good idea.
Yeah. So thoughts, feedback, ideas. Do you know a subcommittee you would want to be on?
Well, get back to us, everybody, right?
Yeah, think about it and let me know. You can also message me if you like know, just text me, say, hey, you know, I want to be on the planning subcommittee. Unfortunately, we're limited to like 3 people on each subcommittee because of the quorum issue. So we might need to do some maneuvering. But if there's like an issue that you are really passionate about, the other thing is that we can have members of the public on our subcommittees. And I think that's one of the beautiful things is that even though we can only have 3 mayor's committee members, we can have as many members of the public that want to be engaged in these issues.
Hey, I know someone who might work on sidewalks.
Yeah.
She can be a big help.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, Elijah says that you can be on the policy subcommittee. Thank you. Yeah. So, so get back to me. I have like 10 minutes to do the last item. I think it's the last item.
Yeah, real quick.
Yeah, and then we have to get to Daniel really quick.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So okay, so yeah, so I'm done. So on this, I'm sorry to rush it, but, and then, so think about that. If you have any questions, please reach out to me. I am here. And then next is 7F, planning and move forward to create the Nothing About Us Without Us resolution on effective, inclusive community engagement and communication for all city communication, public and public city meetings, accessible documents, CART, video captions, web access, language access. In this packet, there is a draft. It's what I call a drafty draft. It's like a first run of just putting my thoughts out there. Yeah, it's a plan. It is not in any way complete, I don't think. And if there is anything that you see that is missing that needs to be in there, please speak up, because we need to make this as comprehensive as possible. And I'm not necessarily going to see or know everything that is going on. And so, but I am planning to actually put it together, start putting it together to move forward. We have support in the governing body for this. Councilor Garcia was kind enough to explain the process for creating a resolution for me. So I have what I feel is a completely clear understanding of what it is that the governing body wants in a final draft of a resolution. And so I can make sure that that happens and work together with him and to make sure that it is clear and it is what they are wanting in order to move it forward to the governing body for review and vote. So please look that over and have your notes ready, because I will be asking for that in the next meeting. If you think it's fine, if it doesn't include anything else, please say that as well, because I want everyone to have feedback in this. Next is matters from staff. Go ahead, Daniel.
Okay, well, I mean, mine is real simple. I'm still continuing to go through facilities, assess our facilities. I did the library, south side. I did identify that the main entrance path of travel is of concern, because I witnessed non-disabled people almost tripping. And so I'm recommending that. I spoke to Regina. I said, if we're going to do something, it would be expensive to correct the brick. Rather than doing that, I asked that maybe we could just add a path of travel from the parking lot to the main entrance, make it a 5-foot wide sidewalk. And that could be the primary path of travel for anyone not wanting to walk on bricks. And that's what can happen. And we're talking about deleting the one that's going from the corner to the main entrance, and deleting that all completely and making it grass, and that's getting rid of all that brick. So we'll have extra bricks to give away, I guess.
My only question with that is, where does the bus stop?
And that's a good question. Yeah, I mean, and that's what I think I don't know if there is a bus stop.
But where would a person traveling by bus? I think there's a bus stop. There used to be a bus stop somewhere down there. I don't know exactly where it was.
Yeah, there's one right there where the ramp is. And I still think we need to fix that ramp a little better.
Yeah.
I mean, it meets the slopes, but something's bugging me about that. But I think that's where the bus stop area is.
Okay. I'm since I'm going to the library at some point to
Yeah,
drop
let me know.
stuff, I'll look for that when I'm there and give feedback on easiest path of travel from a bus. Give feedback on how someone would normally or naturally navigate to the library from there.
Yeah, and another thing I'm looking at is parking garages right now. I just did Sandoval, I did Water. We're looking at fixing those to be a little more up to par. Maintenance has been non-existent, so we need to repaint, restripe. But before we do that, one thing I want to do, everyone's pretty much aware of the new um, international symbol that looks like it's a positive wheelchair rather than the medical model looking one. And I want the city to adopt that for its facilities, in parking spaces and also as a symbol. So that way we are projecting more positive energy and more positive attitude when it comes to disabilities and then all that surrounds that. So that's what I would want on the parking spaces. I'm gonna research to see if that would not be a problem with state law as far as replacing that logo and using that.
And then one question I have in relation to that is there anything that the mayor's committee can do to make that happen or to support it to move forward?
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna see. Maybe I might have to do a resolution specifically for that, that we officially adopt it in some fashion, and I may need your support. And so if that's what's required, I'll bring that before you guys.
Okay.
And I'll draft something so that you can look at.
Okay. And then another question that I have is regarding the ASL in the governing body meeting. I know
Okay.
that there was an issue with that, and if you want to explain that briefly, and then what is being proposed.
Well, what's happened is that we're having difficulty in the broadcasting of ASL, both in person and then online, and then broadcasting it on the cable channel. There are limits. There's only allowed one language on YouTube, so then you have to pick a language, and they're not gonna allow it. So we have to come out somehow, present it in a way so it can be broadcasted, and we run into some problems with that. So at minimum, I'm going to recommend that in person we have an interpreter. We have someone translate into Spanish live there at minimum, just to have something in place, and also to identify captions in the room and to display captions. Will we provide captions in both languages? I'm not sure if we'll do that because of the logistics involved in doing that. Because a lot of people think it's an IT issue, but it's not. It's part of an audio visual and IT working together. And right now, the consultants that we have are kind of non-responsive. We try to reach out to the one that they use in Albuquerque. They're non-responsive. So it's becoming difficult to put something at this moment together, but I think we need to take steps to put something in place. And so first take steps towards it. When we did estimates of the cost, and these are rough estimates, so they're not entirely something that you can hold us down to, but we wanted to spend 60,000 to do it, but then I'm finding out that it might cost more, about $100,000 to $150,000 to do it every year. And that's just for the governing body meeting only. If we want to do it for other meetings, that would be that much more. Like our cost for our committee went up from 6,000 to now 15,000 because we added some additional features. And so and that's why we were talking about going over in time. If we're going to go over, then okay, well, let's go over, but try not to. So we got 2 minutes left.
So one of my questions is, so I was watching the last governing body meeting, and, of course, there's options to have 2 cameras. It shows one side and then the superimposed other side of the.
And it won't allow it it won't allow it.
So it shows it on YouTube. That's what I'm saying is that it's because I only watch it on YouTube. I don't watch it on TV. So, so I was wondering if there was a way, because I know where the cameras are in that room. But I was wondering if there is a way to get the interpreter to stand in the middle with a camera facing them, because then it would be a third camera and it would be like Zoom or something else where that person is always on
Yeah,
screen?
we've been kicking around all the options, and we've run into some difficulties with that. And yeah, we thought about that, a bubble. We also thought about the idea of contracting someone who's not in the room to provide that service, and how can we broadcast that? Because we want to have it online as well. And so that's been something that we're talking about. And like right now, we're using partners, and that's a very good service because in Santa Fe, we only have 10 people that provide sign language interpreting, and oftentimes they're not reliable to show up when we need them. And that's what's happened. So, and then the cost just for one portion of the governing body was $5,000. It was pretty expensive. I mean, and where it was different when we went for a national company, and then now there's more national companies out there that can get us an interpreter in any language. And so it's becomes more cost effective to do it online from various people, because they'll contract with an individual in California to provide services in New York or to Santa Fe. And ours are coming from Connecticut. And so, and we don't know exactly where the interpreter might be, but they're working through those companies. And so it's more cost effective than having someone say, well, I can't show up at 5 because I have to go pick up my daughter at 3, and the logistics are difficult with people coming in live. And so that's what we had problems with. Or they had a previous commitment and they can't show up on time, or they can't stay longer than 10 o'clock. You know, when sometimes our meetings go to 11 or 12 or 1 in the morning with governing body. And so we need that flexibility and consistency for the future. So we're kicking around a lot of things, and as soon as we got something nailed down, I will discuss it with this committee so that we can all be on the same page.
Okay.
And then we'll recommend what we need to recommend to a governing body, because it's not just sign language, it's also language.
Right. And that's part of the resolution that we're working on as well, is like,
Excellent.
how do we make this actually happen and be just part of how the city functions?
Yeah, and CERTI clerk is on board, IT is on board, and the city manager's on board with this. It's just, how do we get it done? The logistics is what's difficult right now.
Okay. All right. That's good to know. Okay. So I know, Gina Marie, I'm almost done. So are there any matters from the committee? Go ahead, Aurora.
We're trying to get Transit Advisory Board to meet in November. I don't know if it'll happen, but we're working on it.
Okay. If it does, let me know, because I would like to be there. Okay.
Okay, it'd be November 12th if we do it.
November 12th. Okay. All right. Thank you, Aurora. If there is nothing else, our next meeting is Wednesday, November 6th, 2024 from 3 to 5 on Zoom. And with that, we are adjourned at 5:02 p.m.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Thank you.